Hello, my loves. Hope that you're all doing fantastic. So for your reading this week, we're doing a little pick a card reading, and I'm going to be amplifying a beautiful element of you that for whatever reason does not get enough credit. Maybe it just somehow gets hidden, lost, or overshadowed in the general vibe, or maybe it's just something that you forget is valuable or important in the overall makeup of you, but for whatever reason, this beautiful element of you just doesn't quite get the credit that it deserves. So that is what I'm going to be looking at in this reading. So we have 3 different groups for you to choose from. The first group is this group with the Houle card, I think is how you say that. So that's going to be group number 1. Group number 2 is this card, the Duende. And the third group is the Moon Cat. Okay. So, as per usual, the timestamps will be in the pinned comment down below and the info box with other information that you may need. So yeah, take a second there, see where you feel called. If you feel called to more than one of the groups, then feel free to watch more than one. Maybe you have many awesome elements that are not getting the stage time that they need, so to speak, or the praise that they deserve. So feel free to choose however many groups you wish or you feel called to. But yeah, it's group number 1, 2, and 3. And when you are ready, I will meet you at your reading. Hello, group number 1. All right, so let's get into this. You guys chose the Houle, or however you say this word. And I'm going to read to you. This is actually a card from the Archeo, this archetypes deck that I have. So I'm going to talk about the attributes and the persona of the card that you picked, because this is part of what represents the element of you that does not get enough credit. So let's start with that. So it says the Houle is elusive. She is the sense of loss and nostalgia we feel for a place or a person that we never knew. She is the missing, that which lingers like a dull, aching grief in your bones. If you chase her, she will recede, but if you invite her to make herself known, she may approach and relieve you of your hollow longing. The Houle touches something within us that sits hunched and gnawing in a corner of our souls, a vaguely conscious emotion that can never be brought to the surface and named. The Welsh have a word for this amorphous sensation, hiraeth, defined as a homesickness for a home to which you cannot return, a place which maybe never was, the nostalgia, yearning, or grief for lost terrains of your past, or the sadness that comes from knowing that someone who is deeply important to you is forever just out of sight. Ooh, that was like a knife to the heart, that last part there. Jeez. What are they trying to do to me? When we are young, we often believe this someone to be our kindred spirit or our love. Later, we realize the missing person resides within, and in order to negate the clinging feelings of loss, we try to mend our sense of being broken by searching for a way to bring together the fragmented parts. In hindsight, the missing part of us may in reality be what it first seemed, a shadow companion whose presence will only break cover when we turn sharply to embrace it. Wow. Okay. That's clarified by the 9 of Wands for you. This part of you, it has a very direct quality about it, a sharp quality about it. It's like it's slippery, and if you're gonna grab it, you kind of got to go all in. You know what I mean? Or else, like it says, it will elude you. It will slip away. And so there's almost this like I want to say like combative, but it's just confrontational is what it is. And it's this element of this energy that, and it's confronting because of the place that it wants to confront as well, is kind of like this very deep, intimate, potentially like wounded or tender place within us that is longing, or maybe feeling lonely or missing something, or seeking, but seeking very deeply. There could be a response to that that is naturally defensive, just because of the place that it is kind of striking. You know what I mean? Hey, Liz. She's being really vocal right now. If you can hear her, getting the goopy out of her eyeball, which is gross, but necessary. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of very scorpionic energy as well, not going to lie. It is kind of that, yeah, it has elements of almost even past life, or deep nostalgia, something that is just on the peripheral, forever just on the outskirts or just out of reach. So what this energy does really though, because the Nine of Wands, I find it interesting that this came out. This is the card associated with the wounded healer with Chiron. And it also is a very sensitive and intimate spot. But also when you put these two together, when they are utilized, engaged correctly, they are able to embrace and create very powerful healing. But it does come from having to like pinpoint and look directly all in, get right face to face with that which needs to be healed, or that which is crying out or feeling this deep longing, right? So whether this is just within you or other people experiencing this element of you, this is an element of you that doesn't get enough credit. And again, I think it's just because of the uncomfortable nature of it, but it is a very beautiful, healing and profound part of you. And really the gift of this element of you, what this offers, is the opportunity to find ourselves more deeply, to mend our internal sense of brokenness and kind of piece the fragmented parts back together again. And that is true intimacy, true acceptance, true presence, true love, true power, really, and sovereignty. That's very beautiful. So that's the element that we are going to be talking about in this reading. Love that. But yeah, it's an element that the Nine of Wands, it talks about like, though you are tired, though you are beat down, though maybe like you've left some blood on the battlefield, you're still standing, you know, bruised but never broken forever, you know, not beyond being able to still succeed. And the thing with Chiron too is it's supposedly this wound that never heals, but yet it offers the journey, the ongoing journey of healing. And as we go through that journey with our own Chiron wound, that also becomes a place where we are able to help others heal. So it's like the weakness becomes a strength and a gift. And I kind of think it's beautiful because it is the human condition. Like this existence is a bittersweet symphony, baby, you know, like it's pain and love. It's grief and ecstasy and everything between. And there will always be that element, but this almost frames that element, that like part that is always kind of gonna hurt a little bit, in a beautiful light and a more empowering light. So yeah, I love this element of you. Okay, so how does it most often get hidden, lost, or overshadowed? Let's take a look at that. Whoa, higher power in reverse with the Queen of Swords. Wow. I burnt my thumb, by the way, so excuse my bright green Band-Aid. It's an overanalyzing or an intellectualizing of either your feelings or something deeply spiritual that is not like, it's like something higher, something divine that maybe there is not a logical explanation for, or maybe like the human consciousness can't fully grasp or make sense of. But yeah, this is coming through as like this part gets lost or drowned out when you're not connected to your feminine energy, really, when you're very in your mind, or when you're coming at it from a strictly like what there is what I can see and feel in front of me. It's like very based on statistics and what can be perceived. In an intelligent kind of way, but not necessarily an intuitive kind of way always. So I think that there are maybe times when you get very, I don't know, there's lots of reasons that this could happen. Like you just get sucked into the day-to-day practicality of life. And it just, you kind of stop checking in on yourself. This happens to all of us, right? We kind of like stop prioritizing checking in with ourselves on a spiritual maybe or emotional level, and we've just got a lot on our plate, or we've got sort of anxious running thoughts or to-do lists, concerns, and we kind of can be very focused on the 3D and get disconnected from this part of ourselves. But that's how it's saying that it kind of gets overshadowed, though, because this is a very deep energy that does require you to actually like connect to it through feeling and through the spirit. It's very deep within. It's not something that can really be observed or just perceived. Yeah. But with higher power in reverse, it also talks about what you're giving energy to and attention to within your mind. Specifically, like if you are focused too much on being right, or focused on old resentments or failed expectations, or like other people's opinions, or, you know, more superficial things like money, then those, wherever your attention is, that's the source from which you're creating. And there's something about it when you're creating from more of like a practical or just a strictly 3D, like when you're not considering your heart and your spirit while you create, that is when this element of you most likely gets overshadowed. But there's something about this that is actually needed to balance things out, because it reminds you that you can always, there's a level of surrender, and that even when troubling times come or painful times come, you're always taken care of, and you can trust. You can trust yourself, and you can trust higher power. Is there anything else that wants to be said about that? How this gets hidden or overshadowed? Okay, that was the 9 of Cups. Didn't come out though. Yeah, no, not really. I think that also it's when you're not going deep, like when you're not intentionally and consciously going deep to heal as well. This can get a little bit bypassed or put more on the back burner because again, it is like a profound energy that forces you to look directly at some of those deeper places. That's not something you're going to be doing every day, right? So to me, it kind of makes sense that this isn't something that is always at the forefront or active, but it is also being highlighted because it is a very important part that has a lot of value to it, and they don't want you to forget it. Or maybe this is something you could really be utilizing right now in your life more, and you're not. So why, yeah, let's talk more about why this is a valuable and important part of you. Okay, so you have the Six of Wands in reverse and then biting through, take decisive action, restore order, force applied with sensitivity, justice, and tenacious devotion to a task. Wow. Yeah, it's that I get knocked down, but I get up again energy. This is a deeply healing and it cultivates like peace and harmony within you, this energy. It allows you to create a deep and aligned like reconciliation or closure specifically of difficult events or difficult feelings and emotions or longings that maybe you can't even really put. Again, like common sense doesn't so much apply to them. It's something higher that has to be felt into or gone into yourself very deeply to kind of meet it there. But this is talking about this giving you more ability to push through difficult times, essentially. The Six of Wands in reverse is like when you're not succeeding, you're not being recognized, when things are hard or when you are feeling kind of just out on your own, or like something needs to be done because things are just not going the way that you want them to. Essentially when there is just disappointments and there's not really a way of, there's not initially like a silver lining that you can find. It's just kind of like a blah situation, you know, but it still has to be dealt with. You still have to do something to restore some sort of order, to move forwards, to create your own closure or justice, right? But it takes like some devotion to you making some sort of decisive action and decision. Or yeah, decisive action to make things better for yourself. This allows you, I feel like, to not get stuck in old narratives about past disappointments. It helps you in a sense like rise or transcend above them. It's almost coming through as like an emotional phoenix rising, kind of like a feminine phoenix energy, if that makes sense. Like if you split the archetype of the phoenix into yin and yang, I feel like this is coming through as like the yin element of phoenix energy. That's kind of like the energetic signature that I'm feeling for it. So yeah, that's just kind of highlighting again what we already talked about, why one element, why this is so valuable and important. It doesn't allow you to get stuck. Even if you are resorted to ash, it reminds you almost of that you can overcome anything, essentially. And when you can't, you can make the decision to not, you can remember that you're not on your own. You can surrender and have faith and know that you will be taken care of as well. There's something, again, that's spiritual about this. It's faith-based. You could have a strong Pisces placement in your chart or Scorpio. Both of those are coming through very heavily. Leo, I also just heard. So your overall advice at this time or surrounding this message, you have the Knight of Pentacles in reverse and plants. Plants. There's something that's growing of its own accord. Like it has its own essence and trajectory of growth. Something has been planted and it's like it's been initiated. A process has been initiated and now it's on its own time. And with the Knight of Pentacles in reverse, it's kind of saying, let that be what it is. Let's see if we can get some more information on what that might be surrounding. But yeah, that's what I'm getting from that is like, I think that now is actually maybe a gestation period. Something could be, the seed is planted, the soil is rich, but it has not broken ground yet. And all you can really do is like, you know, continue projecting positive intentions and energy at your manifestation, but there's nothing more to physically really be done. So this might be a time for you to, there's something about like reconnecting with your physical body, resting and renewing your physical body in preparation for when something does come into physical bloom, because then there will be another period where action needs to be taken. But right now, I feel like it's more about connecting to maybe your emotional and spiritual self, but also there's something about being sensually in the body and feeling rested and at ease and relaxed. Tell me more about the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Wow. Okay, that's too many. Flip over. Yeah. The Eight of Wands. I think that there's there's an like excitement for something, or else there's just excitement for like a difficult period to be over. Like, I want success already. I want things to not feel so hard already. It feels as though there's something that you've wanted and it's like, yeah, it's on its own thing. It's definitely on its own thing. Its own sort of like divine timing. But there is this almost temptation to, or desire for the energy to move more quickly or to try to force it or push it maybe. But there is really nothing that can actually force this, is what I'm seeing. And I'm also seeing with this that Spirit is kind of saying, like, when the energy is ready to shift, you will know. You will be made known, like something will change physically in your physical environment. There will be a shift in the energy that you will feel, and it will be like, heads up, it's time to go now. But it's not something that you will be deciding or pushing. That's what I'm kind of getting, or you're not meant to. Anything else about that Eight of Wands energy? Or if this opportunity involves another person, then it's like they will be coming to you. The Four of Cups in reverse. The bottom of the deck is the Three of Swords. The Seven of Wands. Yeah, there's a slightly defensive energy here. There could be someone that you were dealing with that did respond in a defensive way to a particular like deep or profound or healing, you know, but sort of triggering or activating element of you. Because I'm kind of feeling someone else's energy here, and it's like, if this is for you, the message where this is somebody else that is involved here as well, you're just being advised to let them come to you. It's like seeds were planted and maybe something was there was friction, or there was heartache or disappointment. Maybe something hasn't gone the way you wanted, and there's this desire to create justice. And there is an element of still devotion to something that's very strong. But it's like you can't see how it's going to work out logically, and you're not meant to. So the advice here is like, you're not really meant to push this forwards. Let someone come to you, and they're going to come when they have, there's some growth that they need to do before they come back to you. But also, like, I'm seeing your relationship as being this garden as well. So seeds were planted, you activated something. I don't feel as though the connection's over, but they may be doing some, like there's some deep growth that may be happening on this person's side individually, and maybe for you as well individually at this time. So yeah, the advice there is to kind of like heal your own emotional wounds, balance out these energies a little bit, as well, like maybe tune more into your feminine energy here. Rest, and this will come about in perfect timing when everything is calibrated and aligned with both of you, okay? But I feel like you're not going to miss it. It will come back around without you needing to push it or take action. And it will be when someone is actually like ready to talk, ready for the energy to shift. So yeah, if it's been stagnant or difficult, then it's because whatever needs to process here still hasn't been processed. But once it is, I feel like this will shift naturally and come back towards you, okay? All right, my loves. Those are the messages that I'm seeing for you. This was an interesting reading. I hope it resonates with you. Let me know in the comment section. And thank you for being here as always. I'm going to move on to group number 2 now, but I will talk to you guys again soon. Bye. Hi, group number 2. What is up? What is up? All right, let's get right into your reading here. So you guys chose the Duende, and clarifying, this is the Knight of Swords in reverse. So this is representative of the element of you that we're going to be discussing a little bit today. So this card actually came from the Archeo deck, which talks about different archetypes within us. So I'm actually going to read the description, which talks about some of the attributes and the persona of this energy, and then we will get more deeply into it, okay? So it says the Duende is a spirit of the deepest creativity, a silent sound, a struggle that surges up from the soles of our feet. It is of blood, ancient culture, and action, and it calls us out. Without it, our artistic works would be tepid and superficial, yet with it, our nerve endings become exposed and raw. It comes with full force or not at all, burning through us, searing away our resistance. The Duende fires us with a power far beyond our normal capacity for expression, making us an outlet of profound art and music. Both primitive and highly sophisticated, its presence sets alight the core of our potential. It is the passionate specter of the earth, a hobgoblin muse demanding that we open ourselves to all possibilities. With guttural song summoned from the caves of our souls, it accepts no lies. The Duende is nearby, a pregnant and overwhelming power that is life, fate, and the consummation of risk and knowledge. It is not a mere concept, but a very real presence. Made visible, it is huge, potent, patient, and less tolerant than anything the human will can grasp. It is a bittersweet bliss that will infiltrate the bloodstream like a toxin. It is life loved and lived with the greatest of passions. But if that love is lost, the Duende leaves us with an inconsolable grief. Wow. Okay. You guys are getting like the most intense archetypes in this deck, I feel like. Because group number 1 was also very deep and profound and had a certain very specific intensity about it as well. I kind of live for this energy though, I'm not going to lie. Both of them have also had kind of scorpionic feels to themselves in their own way, which I love because we're in Scorpio season and in the midst of all that energy, and it's just coming on through. But basically, this is an energy of profound creativity that comes from pain. The kind of pain that forces us into the deepest parts of ourselves. The most exposed, vulnerable, raw parts of ourselves. And it sits its presence in that spot and lights a fire there. It creates a passionate conviction and openness and an honesty that aligns someone with, yeah, life and fate itself. And it's incredibly potent energy. But again, if it's not, there's this element about it where it's like, if it is not utilized or if it is not chosen, then it leaves in its place an inconsolable grief. I kind of feel like you embody this energy. And I feel like you cannot really be made sense of, quote unquote, at least like this part of your energetic embodiment. Like this is just one archetype of you, right? But you, I feel like it's a pretty strong enough of an element of you that, for instance, like if you're in a relationship with someone and they are experiencing you, like I feel like you are an experience. You're not just like, I mean, every person is, but like you demand to be witnessed, experienced, like felt, and you do touch people in a very profound place when they're given the space and the intimate opportunity to engage with you in that way. You have a very transformative energy, a very potent energy, but it's like if your presence then leaves their life, I feel like you do really leave a mark. And some may experience very deep, like longing, loneliness. I don't know if it's like inconsolable grief, but I feel like it's that U-shaped hole that no one and nothing could ever or does ever fill. And you really do leave a mark. There is a certain violence to this energy though, and it is very like lightning striking almost. It's not erratic because it is coming through as incredibly focused, streamlined, intentional, directed, but at the same time it's like maybe sometimes it even catches you off guard with the way that it sparks up within you. Like all of a sudden it's not there, and then all of a sudden it is there and wants to be witnessed and wants to be wants you to hold space for it. And it would be very difficult. It would be impossible to ignore when it does pop up within you. You might even kind of feel this as like, it's not this, but it's like, it's almost reminding me, because I don't know how else to explain it, but like with someone who is bipolar, when they go through a phase where they are like manic, right? They might feel just like more, and I don't think this is what this is, but this is just how I'm explaining it, is like they might feel a lot more creative or inspired or in tune, or they might have a lot more energy, but it's like, I'm not comparing this energy to the energy of being manic. I'm just saying like when it strikes you, it might be like that, like a phase where you feel the difference to how you engage with life and how you engage with yourself. Maybe you almost feel like you're connected to something divine and you are channeling. If you're an artist, maybe you feel that you channel creatively during those phases, or you just have a lot of really profound downloads maybe at that time about life that shift what you believe is possible and sort of the dreams that you have for yourself. Just, yeah, how you even see life. But I feel like they are very, they renew the passion and the conviction within you when those phases come. But other people experience this part of you as it's not like a violence, but it is very direct. Like I said, kind of confrontational. not combative, but it's like it's going to take you directly to that place and not let you look away no matter how uncomfortable you are, right? And the thing is, with the Knight of Swords in reverse, I feel like the place where maybe this this energy within you highlights in other people is a place where like they feel blindsided. So it's like you maybe come in and you light up or you activate or catalyze an element of them that it's like a desire, a deep desire that they have, or a deep fear that they have that they were previously completely, you know, unconscious to, like totally not aware of it. And you come in and like light that up and then leave, you know? But you left after like planting a very specific seed or catalyzing a very specific element or phase of growth or realization or whatever it is in that person. So yeah, you're unforgettable. That's how that energy is coming through. I kind of feel like romantically you may be like the one that got away, that could never be replaced for numerous people. Yeah, that's way too many cards. Is there anything else you want to tell me about this element for group 2? Why do they keep trying to spit so many out? Let me shuffle the other way a little bit here. But this part of you could be very beneficial to tune into or to call upon, to like invoke, so to speak, because it feels like it has like it's like a thing of its own, like it's kind of an entity or a presence of its own, but it's still within you. So it's still something you can call up from within you. But it's like when you're not inspired, or when you just don't have the answer to something, or you don't feel convicted, or as though maybe you've lost your direction in life or something like that, that's when this energy is very beneficial. When you need something to like show you that life is worth living again and take you to those really deep places. Okay, I don't feel like there's anything else about that. So let's look at how this most often gets hidden, lost, or overshadowed. Orphaned in reverse with the Six of Swords. Okay. Orphaned and the Six of Swords. Okay. Well, this is a very particular path or portal that you can take to propel yourself forwards, right? It's a very specific route, unmistakable. It's kind of like you got to be ready and know that if you're going to call on that, or at least, you know, be somewhat prepared when you know that's within you and it's active, that when it does come up, it's going to require you to kind of to go to those deep places, to be brave, to roll with the punches, to surrender maybe to some degree, and almost let it like flow through you. That is when that creative, whatever is needed, whatever it wants to be birthed at that time, is going to flow through you. And so it feels like when you try to like structure your understanding of the progress or the process forward, if that makes sense, like when you're trying to find your way out of the chaos, but you're trying to do that in a very structured, almost Saturnian way, where it's like you understand and you break down each step that you're taking out of the chaos, and understanding, you know, like why everything happened, and really integrating. And this is Mercury in Aquarius energy. And so it kind of has that fixed air sort of vibe to it, you know? But orphaned in reverse. Well, this card talks about a sense of loss, or like identity crisis, feeling like you want to belong, but you don't fit in anywhere, or you have you're uncertain about your place. But this talks about the essence of abandonment when it's in reverse. And it can talk about when you feel like you have to avoid intimacy because you're scared of it or threatened by it. Or when you create inappropriate structures to control or conceal old wounds. But it talks kind of about unhealthy alliances, and the need to claim yourself as whole and have faith in relationships. Know that not all of them are dysfunctional and not all of them will disappoint or hurt you, that you can connect to others in a healthy way once you recognize your patterns and kind of consciously choose to not abandon yourself and to interrupt those old patterns. But yeah, this talks about seeing your own patterns and your potential for pushing things away because you're scared of intimacy because of abandonment or rejection, and the need to overcome that through, again, like bringing wholeness to yourself internally so that you trust yourself to be able to connect to others in a healthy way. And you have that awareness of your own patterns so that you can move forwards. But this approach is how this element sometimes gets like lost or overshadowed. So yeah, it's kind of, both of these cards talk about almost having like a structured way, like recognizing your patterns, and then being conscious and choosing to take certain steps. So while that is a positive approach, sometimes, like, especially if I feel like if you're doing shadow work, that is a necessary approach. But it's also not like, you wouldn't want to approach all of life from that perspective, like taking every choice you make, having to go through the filter of like your wounds, right? Because that would mean that essentially you're living out of your woundedness still. And so you don't need to always have your attention and focus on that. So essentially it's saying this element of you, which is a lot more, it's animalistic, it's guttural, it comes up from like the depths of you, and it is wild and not tameable, right? That flies in the face of this structured, analyzed, broken down, like step-by-step program that might feel very safe and structured to lead you out of something. But this is a different approach to pulling you out of stagnant energy. But this is more through like just the direct infusion or calling upon of this, this presence that is primal and creative and unpredictable, really, unpredictable, with that Knight of Swords in reverse, but very deep and transformative at the same time. So yeah, when there's too much of a focus on this kind of approach, this gets overshadowed or maybe like forgotten about, because I feel like there's a time and place for each approach, right? But they're almost highlighting that don't put this approach above this approach. This is still very powerful and has, it's a gift. It's a part of you for a reason. And it has its time and place when it is the more powerful or appropriate approach to even take. Okay, so let's keep talking about why this is a valuable or important part of you. Scorpionic energy. Yeah, see, deeply transformative from like an emotional and creative place. That's very Scorpionic. So we have the Death card, and then there's this Oracle card, the Joyous. Happiness, delight, interaction, open communication, goodwill, friendly persuasion, and self-expression. There is something about creating something from it's like every act of destruction is also an act of creation. Everything that violently falls apart can be turned into poetry if one decides to make it so, right? But they're highlighting again why this is so valuable. It's like when you are going through those times of incredibly deep transformation, and when it's not just as simple as like, okay, this is something that I can approach from like, you know, with my analytical mind, I can break it down logistically and I can come at it from that. Like it's more superficial and that's all that's needed in certain circumstances. But with the death process, that is like a soul level death and rebirth, right? It's like it's going to need a process that allows, like that can withstand being in the deepest spaces within you. And this can go deeper, much deeper than this, right? So when you're going through these processes, this element of you essentially, and utilizing that or invoking it within yourself, getting to know it and how to work with it more better, getting to work with it more, it actually brings this element of lightness, joy, and expression, art, creativity. Like it's like something really beautiful being created even in the wake of destruction, or something really light and joyful being communicated or coming out of a process that is painful or deep or has shadowy or dark elements to it. Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, some of the greatest artists are people who throughout history have experienced the most incredible pain. I mean, Eric Clapton wrote Tears in Heaven after his son fell out of a hotel window and died. You know what I mean? Like there's story after story of beautiful things that were written, or like art that expresses profound pain or transformative periods in those people's lives. And I feel like this is kind of that element. It's being able to make something, to allow something actually to ask for something beautiful to be created from the pain. It's like, make this chaos count, make this mess matter. And then you ask your heart and soul to create that within the process for you, and it comes out and shines, and it's very beautiful. Or else you invoke or you catalyze this kind of transformation in others, but you do so in a very graceful and loving kind of way, I feel like. Not from a place of trying to confront or be combative or like trigger them. You're genuinely coming from a place of love and joy, and having someone's best, like having good intentions, pure intentions. And so that's also part of why your presence or your influence or impact sticks with people, I feel like, because it's so powerful, but it's not in a forceful way. It just is. It feels like your essence or something that comes out of you and deeply impacts people. But yeah, this is a huge ally for these shifts and changes and those kinds of phases in your life. So let's look at some overall advice. Let's see. You have healing with the Three of Wands. Let me just cover up. There's some nakedness there. Okay, healing and the Three of Wands. Well, I do feel like there is something maybe that you are trying to move out of right now, and it is like you are maybe in this transformative process, or you have been. And it has been because you've been healing something quite deep. It could be an abandonment or rejection type of wound that you've been faced with, or yeah, looking at, working on here. But the advice is to keep your eyes towards the future or on the horizon, or, you know, like dream in present tense is what I'm getting. Dream in present tense, heal in present tense. Make this something that is happening in the now, because there's something about this feeling like it's tied to the past for some reason. Just this card, I'm getting that. And with the person looking out with the Three of Wands over the horizon, like waiting, anticipating something coming in, I'm getting here that if there's too much focus on the past while you are doing this healing, it's not that something could be missed, but it's like you are robbing yourself almost of the joy of the present, or you're putting yourself back in the energy of the past. And that's not actually necessary to do the healing needed. They're saying that you can be in the present moment and you can be dreaming of what is to come and still be very invested and engaged with this healing that you're doing and this process. There's something about like you don't really have to grieve. You don't have to grieve anymore. Something maybe has been destroyed, but something new is coming into form now, and that is what you are meant to be excited about and focused on, I feel. Even if you don't have the answers or you don't have a lot of details, like you may be feeling called in a specific direction, but you don't have a lot of details yet. It's like kind of a vague dream that's still coming into, it's still taking shape maybe. You're still being advised to lean into this creative energy, but focus it, like be present or focus it towards where you want to go, not where you've been. There's something about that that's important. Is there anything else you want me to highlight in terms of advice before I let group 2 go? No. Nope. I feel like you've made the decision to heal something very deep, and you've been invested in the process of calibrating and aligning with yourself in the places where you were in a state of indecision or imbalance. I think that this is a process that is well underway already, and there are things that you have been releasing and still are releasing that you knew you'd outgrown or just were not good for you. And you've made the tangible choice again and again to continue choosing healing, even when that meant sacrificing, like having to let go of things that you maybe didn't want to let go of, you know? You've made sacrifices for this process. You've allowed things to pass away so that what is truly aligned with you and can honor you is able to come into form. And I feel like what is coming on the horizon here is the culmination of some of that, or it's like a reward for some of that, or something that helps like anchor your roots in this new reality after this transition or transformation. There's something that's coming in for you that is like some form of peace and harmony that you're getting. Yeah, there's a huge emphasis on some form of peace and harmony, but there's also a big emphasis on you're not going to find that through dissecting or revisiting the past. Okay, so just know that something is coming to you that is a gift, that is a result of you giving yourself to this process. But you don't need to like stall or wait for that to come to you. Just the way that you're going to intersect with it most naturally is to just keep on facing the sun, keep on working through this process, keep on making those definitive, taking definitive action to stay committed to your healing, because you are making progress. And And again, know that there is more than one approach to take to that progress and that process. So switch it up if you feel like one way is kind of like not working for you, okay? But this is all coming along beautifully, and you might be a healer, honestly. Like there's just a lot of healing elements here, especially like inner child wounds and attachment styles I'm seeing highlighted very strongly here. Trauma themes, so you might help or work with people who have those sorts of wounds, or yeah, that could be part of your calling. But anyways, that's what I'm seeing for you, my beautiful group 2s. Thank you so much for being here. I love you so very much. And yeah, I'm going to move on to group 3 now, but I will talk to you guys again very soon. Bye. Oh, hello, group number 3. A pleasure to see you. Thanks for being here. You guys are in the Mooncat group. So this card actually comes from this Archeo deck, which is a deck of different archetypes. And so I'm actually going to read to you some of the attributes and the persona of the Mooncat from the book, because this is part of the signifier actually for the element of you that sometimes gets overlooked here. So let's start with that. So it says, the Mooncat's driven by curiosity and intuition. If you align yourself to her, you will learn to grow your innate perception. Invite her into your company, and if the mood takes her, she will show you alternate byways. Follow her padded footsteps and mimic her dancing amber eyes to understand what it is to be free. Her ways are enigmatic and unpredictable, yet far from irrational. Lithe and low, the cat slips soft-footedly down the old moon's ribbon-pale path. Her pupils expand, widening as the landscape's luminosity grows under a rising gold crescent. Her cousin Phoebe has gifted the cat the freedom to wander wild from dusk to dawn among the rocks and ghosts. Those who walk in moonlight are unrestricted by convention. They do not suffer obligation and are not constricted by any notion of a contrived formality. Instead, they choose their empire of shadows, where no cold-hearted human god demands servitude. The Mooncat patrols all corners of the earth, from the abandoned labyrinths of Lima to the gates of Eden, and from the palace at Versailles to the catacombs of Alexandria. Revered by the ancients for their independence, their names are inscribed in the libraries of man. From the sharp-witted Pengerban to the mercurial Minalouche, cats have listened to a different drum, a drum beat that humans can hear only at a great distance. Okay, well, that's quite... that's pretty, like... niche, you know what I mean? It feels niche a little bit, but it also just feels like obscure, which makes a lot of sense based on the fact that it is the Mooncat. I want to see what this is clarified by here. The King of Swords in reverse. Yes, this makes a lot of sense. Okay, so this part of you is like, fuck authority, even like the authority of my own analytical mind, because I see beyond that. I see beyond duality. I see beyond like analytics and statistics. And, you know, again, this energy is driven by curiosity and intuition and the kind of innate perception that does not need to be learned or even refined. You know, it's wild, right? It's completely liberated. It's enigmatic. It's unpredictable. But again, there is a rationale to it, but it doesn't come from the place that the King of Swords rationale comes from. It comes from being connected to something much, much deeper, something that must be felt, something where there is not structure or obligation. There's not constriction or formality. Okay. That's pretty deep. So this is an element of you that is unrestricted and unconventional. And honestly, it kind of doesn't give no fucks. You know, it's like, this is a I bow to no one kind of energy, right? We know how cats function. We all know. If you know, you know. They're like, yeah, I bow to no one, right? So again, this is kind of an energy that's deeply intuitive, and it feels like provoking to me. It feels, some people I feel would be threatened by this because, again, it would take even like the most intelligent, like by certain standards, right? By the King of Swords standards, intelligence, and flip it on its head. Like play the devil's advocate, or just add a deeper element to something. It's like the ability to make simple things, say that something that is being explained as simple and black and white, it's the ability to draw the shades of gray out of that through approaching it from a curious or intuitive place. Is there anything that wants to come up about the Moon Cat and the King of Swords in reverse? But yeah, this talks about a kind of vision or sight that transcends like human sight, the sight that comes from the mind that is in our body, right? It talks about tuning more into the third eye, or the greater consciousness, the divine consciousness. Okay, let's look at how this element most often gets hidden, lost, or overshadowed for you. Okay, so we have the Page of Wands in reverse with a change in the wind. A change in the wind. Okay. Sorry, something about that Page of Wands in reverse energy is really pulling me in here. I kind of feel like that may not always be you. Sometimes it may be. I'm going to clarify that a little bit. But the change in the wind, a change in the wind card here, that's pretty self-explanatory. It talks about having this sense that there's unseen change that has been initiated. It has that vibe of like, I can feel something coming, a storm's a-coming, and it's like you're in that preparation energy. It can also talk about the awareness that your plans are just not on firm ground, and so you feel when things shift, or you could still have an overall uncertainty about which direction the winds will blow you, right? It can talk, though, specifically about that somewhat, it's like that sense that kind of walks the line between unease and anticipation, like excited anticipation, because it is human nature to yearn for certainty and resist change to some degree, to want things to remain consistent, right? To want things to be black and white. But yet the very nature of things is change, and that nothing will remain static. So because of that as well, we are constantly transforming and redefining our desires and expectations, because external and internal conditions, so to speak, move in and out of sync, right? It's like we calibrate with different things. Our desires, our expectations shift. But the Page of Wands in reverse is like, I'm going to clarify that a little bit here. I want to know why that's there. Because when a certain change is initiated and you don't really know what's coming. To me, that almost feels like the last time that this element of you should be hidden or overshadowed or forgotten about. It almost feels like that's the time that it would be best utilized, right? Like to kind of lean into the unknown and tune into the more subtle realms because you don't have the answers or because you can't take that specific approach anymore. So tell me more about the Page of Wands in reverse. The Four of Wands in reverse. This is primarily not you. At some points in your life, it may be, but for the most part, this does not represent you. This represents shifts that are somewhat, they feel very destabilizing to you, and they may feel almost like karmic or like punishment. Yeah. At the bottom of the deck is the World, Saturnian energy. It's, yeah, when things just really don't feel fair, when certain things hit you out of nowhere, things that you don't feel coming, and things that strike you in a deeply emotional place. So this would be like when, well, with the Page of Wands and the Four of Wands both in reverse, the Page of Wands in the upright talks about being hopeful and open and excited and optimistic. And the Four of Wands in the upright talks about unbridled joy and celebration and feeling both like liberated and free and open and receptive, but also safe and secure and at home and at peace. So with both of these in reverse, there is an element of like change that comes in that is very deflating. Like it hits you in such a place that it's like your heart and soul deflates. You know, it's not just like a tiny disappointment that is like a small physical setback. This is like something that your heart and soul were invested in or hopeful towards. And then that would be like getting news that is destabilizing, and it's a change that really, it's a change that feels, it's not just like making you sad though. I'm trying to find the right words for the way that this energy is coming through. It is just like a deep deflation or like something that deteriorates at your hope or at your faith or at your baseline of joy and peace. Can you tell me more about that? So it's like when you feel that changes come into your life that are, this is kind of coming through as like changes in the form of maybe something being removed from your life or something falling apart. It's something that you don't really have. It's more like you're being informed of something and you're not happy with the way that it's going, right? But you don't really have a say. So it might be like changes that take place swiftly that deflate you, that you don't understand. Like, why did that have to happen? That could be when you switch over into almost like over-analyzing and trying to make sense from this perspective. And then this gets overshadowed. But I feel like this would actually be the most helpful element for you to tune into to really get the answers and the peace and regain that stabilization in those moments that is most needed. So that's really interesting. You might have a tendency to just flip into, you know, the King of Swords, but it's in reverse. It's like, it might be more making assumptions or like hunkering down because you feel destabilized, like returning to or doubling down on outdated structures or like black and white thinking, you know, when it would actually be beneficial for that to be a time of opening up and maybe receiving like intuitive guidance or being able to surrender and just say it is what it is. I trust that like I will know what I need to know about this when I need to know, kind of thing. Rather than getting hung up on breaking it down or analyzing it or, you know, ruminating or keeping yourself stuck, because all of these energies here are in the reverse. So I feel like that could create more stagnation for you, that approach. And it also doesn't really allow for like inspiration, fresh energy, and like hope from unexpected places to come to you, right? To stream into you, because you are focused on breaking down and understanding what disappointed you. You're focused on the disappointment. You're focused more on the thing that has already deflated you. So I feel like this would kind of confuse you, or at the very least keep you stuck with like a more disappointing or draining focus on your energy. So that's why that's being highlighted, I feel like, because it's almost like this would be a much better approach for you, a much more, it's coming through as like, it will just get you so much further and it will feel so much lighter if you can sort of master taking this approach. And, you know, when we're in these situations where we are deeply disappointed on a soul level and something's like all of a sudden a shift is forced upon us, so to speak, it's not the easiest thing to just flip the switch and be in this place of like, okay, well, it is what it is. I surrender, kumbaya. You know, it's like, it's not the easiest. So I'm not trying to downplay that. Trust me, as a Pisces sun, Pisces North node, the struggle is fucking real. But it does, when you do learn to master that, the more you learn to kind of like have that almost, it's like a healthy detachment. It's kind of like being a little bit stoic, maybe. It's not caring. It's just understanding like that you're not attached to outcomes or expectations, that certain things do need to shift and take place, and that you can roll with the punches and not have to understand everything and control everything when those times come, because you can't anyways. So trying to is just going to kind of like make things more stressful and heavy for you, right? So when you do learn to master that, it does bring this element of kind of unshakable internal harmony and peace, and this greater faith or trust in something that you can also fall back and rely on when things do feel unstable or out of your control. Okay, so let's talk more about why this element of you is so valuable and important. Aww. Aw, that's cute. Okay, judgment in reverse with innocence, which says a trusting nature, originality, spontaneity, open-heartedness, simplicity, and the unexpected. Okay, well, this is Plutonian energy, judgment. Every group has had a tie to Scorpio or Pluto in some way. And I love that. Like, I just love that at the time that I'm creating this, we're in the depths of Scorpio season and energy, and Pluto be doing its thing, and we have a grand water trine that has strong Scorpio energy that's doing its thing, and the energy is just like coming on through non-subtly, and I am fucking here for it. So another reason why this archetype or element of you is so vital or important. Well, it does keep you from slipping into this. Again, they're kind of highlighting this element of the King of Swords in reverse and Judgment in reverse, the shared energy there. And it's another card in reverse. It could be a very like critical sort of energy, to the point of like, think like toxic Mercurial or Virgo or Gemini energy, or even, you know, Libra or Aquarius, any of the signs associated with either Mercury or air. But also with Plutonian energy and this innocence, it wouldn't only be applying that kind of like very harsh or rigid criticism or judgment of self just to like any part of you. It would be like the tendency to apply that to the most tender parts of you, or the parts that actually are, yeah, very innocent and kind of need to be handled with care, need to be protected from the parts of you that would maybe hurt yourself at certain points. I hope that makes sense. It's like, this is the intuitive, like motherly almost element of you that is meant to hold you in these, it can be trusted to hold the most innocent parts of you, the most open-hearted parts of you. And this also says the unexpected on it, right? The unknown, the unexpected. There's something about this moon cat energy that is incredibly like pure, but also has this very like wizened energy to it. It's almost like this is this grown up, or having many lifetimes of experience behind it, but it has kept this pure and divine space, protective space within it, like the way a mother protects its child. There's times when that like this harshness, right, or this strategic kind of approach is not best though. And again, that's times when you kind of just need to return to the core of you and remind yourself that everything is okay. You can trust yourself. You can trust your heart. You can trust forces greater than you. You can trust what you don't know, right? And when you know your heart and you know the place that you're coming from, and you kind of like are deeply attuned to that truth, you are capable of being flexible and handling much more with this kind of, with faith, with trust in yourself, and this kind of surrender that actually is very strong. It is not a weakness. It's not the same as just like throwing, like having no inhibitions and just like doing whatever you want and being reckless. It's not that. It's still very conscious and intentional and present in the steps that it's taking. It's just very tuned in intuitively, and it knows what it doesn't know. You know what I mean? Can you tell me more about this? What's being highlighted about why this element is important? Okay, there's more coming through intuitively. Yeah. Yes. There's also times that come up that they're highlighting where you're being called to something big, whether that is an opportunity that you're being asked to step into that is part of like your path, like your destiny, you know, or whether it is stepping into a new internal state of empowerment and sovereignty. But the Judgment card, Plutonian energy, it requires us to, yes, it gives us power, but it also requires us to go to a deep part of ourselves, to grapple with ourselves, to become more empowered, to take that power back for ourselves, essentially. And what are we taking it back from? Well, we're taking it back from fear and hesitation. The places where our fear and our doubt and insecurity is greater than our sense of love and faith and peace and surrender. So it's almost like when we are called to step into something and we are afraid, or when we're called even to move in a place of courage and love, that requires us to be disarmed, to not be defensive, to wear our heart on our sleeve, or to show this very pure and divine nature. That can be scary to put yourself out there in such a way, or to make yourself vulnerable in such a way. Again, I'm noticing that all of these clarifying cards are in reverse, every single one of them. So there's something connected to this particular element or archetype that very much has to do with the times when, so this may not just be an indication of just when change is forced upon you, so to speak, but it almost feels like when specifically those periods of change feel like maybe nothing is happening, or it's like there is nothing that you can do. It's almost like the only real logical approach, ironically, is the moon cat. This is the energy where you will feel the most grounded and safe and aligned and rooted within yourself and something higher that you can trust. But they're very clearly highlighting that like this path is not gonna do it for you. Because it's almost like you'll just be ruminating or sinking in quicksand rather than moving forwards into the unknown with this trusting nature, with this expansive energy and anticipation. So it's very different ways of approaching certain phases of change in your life. So that's why they're kind of highlighting the importance of this. Maybe you're in a phase right now where you're going through this and there's a lot of shifts and changes, and they want you to take this approach, even if certain things have been disappointing, certain changes have been disappointing. So let's take a look at the advice here. It is the Devil and Meander. Okay. So yeah, we have Aquarius, Plutonian, Gemini, and Capricorn energy here being highlighted. The Devil and Meander. There's something about your shadow that wishes to be explored at this time. And by your shadow, I don't mean something necessarily dark and heavy and bad. I mean something that has to do with your desire. It has to do more with your desire than like your virtues and your values and beliefs. It's more about this kind of like primal energy and where you almost instinctively feel pulled. Okay. It's almost like there is no direct path to something at this time. The Devil is Capricornian energy, right? And Capricorn talks about the best way, the most appropriate way, the most effective way to get something done, right? They're the most evolved earth sign. They are kind of like the goats. They are the bosses. They know the best approach and they take it and it serves them well. There's something about the best approach at this time actually is to lean into your desires and allow yourself to be pulled intuitively where you may. To not judge and criticize the path if it twists and turns, if it seems to be a path of meandering. You're still making your way somewhere. You're still heading towards the sun here. You know what I mean? Even if it feels like you're in the dark under the moon. This path is still leading you towards the sun, even when things feel dark or heavy. You can still trust yourself, even when, you feel at conflict with yourself or things feel hard or you feel like you're in a phase where you need to challenge elements of yourself. Allow those things to be intuitively pulled out of you, or rather than taking this approach of needing to like overthink and like analytically dissect and break things down, which I feel like is going to be draining and overwhelming. Allow yourself to be guided by your shadow and what your desire wants to show you. And even if it's like all of the side quests are valuable at this time. So even if you feel like you're aimlessly wandering, that's not actually it. There's very much a purpose and a direction to the path at this time. Even if there's a lot of unknown, even if it feels like you're maybe even like stagnant or things are going back and forth. It's interesting too. The Devil is the only card that came up in the upright. Okay, let me just sit with that for a sec. That's significant. The Devil and Meander, this is your advice. Capricorn season may also be very significant for you, or this approach might be very necessary for you in Capricorn season, which is coming up. It's over sort of December mostly. Okay, can you tell me clearly and directly what is the importance of this? Yeah, tell me more about the devil and meander more about the advice for group 3. There's something that's important there. Ace of Coins. It kind of came out like not exactly sideways or reversed, so let's just put it up here though for now. I kind of feel like this is what you're moving towards, but it almost feels like you don't believe that it is, like that the treasure is at the end of, that the pot of gold is at the end of the rainbow, you know? But I actually think there is something that, tell me more about the Ace of Coins. I feel that this is still very available to you. I feel as though this has to do with the Lovers in Judgment, actually. There might be something that you feel very emotionally and intuitively pulled towards, but it triggers you or it scares you or it doesn't really make logical sense. This could even be something that you did try to move towards, but it was like painfully removed from your life, or something painfully shifted in the dynamic with you and this opportunity, whatever it is. But it feels like something that it is something you feel called to. Like it is a higher calling, or it's like your soul feels called to whatever this is. And it feels like there's an opportunity that you may feel has been taken from you, but I think that it's just the path to get there is not what you anticipated. I do feel like you're going to get there, but you may be right now kind of like reading the situation as there's been an opportunity that has been lost, or there is no hope, right? And I think that what could be lending to that is if you are taking this approach where you're trying to really like break down and understand or psychoanalyze why something failed, or yeah, I feel like you're chipping away at your own intuitive power, your own emotional healing process and integration, and your own hope. And a little bit of hope will take you a very long ways. So make sure you do preserve that, because I feel like it's this pure part of you here, this innocent part of you that has that childlike sense of wonder and hope. And you need to keep that safe, not chip away at it with this kind of harsh, critical, dissecting energy, okay? Because I feel like this is still available to you, but it's almost like you can't make up your mind if you think that it is. Okay, is there anything else about this before? Anything else you need me to let group 3 know? I feel like there's there's a bridge here. There could be something though that you feel pulled to that has felt a little bit triggering, shadowy, or maybe it's highlighted certain fears, wounds, addictions, or kind of like toxic, quote unquote, misaligned elements of you. You may feel like this has been something that has been a distraction or has caused you to stray from whatever direct path or trajectory you were on previously. And then you might feel frustrated because it's like, even despite that, like the opportunity, then it didn't even, nothing came of it kind of thing is what I'm getting from this. And it feels like your overall perspective on whatever the situation is currently is that it was toxic and constrictive and kind of like ate away at a very pure part of you, caused you to question your intuition, and has stagnated you and not paid off. So I think they're highlighting all of this for a reason, that there's something that you do want to address there. Because the Lovers is a choice. Judgment is a choice to answer the call. And the Ace of Coins, it's a choice to either create or accept an opportunity. And they're highlighting that there's something about the way that you're actually handling the current state of this, where you may either be feeling like you don't have a choice, or something is just like did not go your way with finality, but it's because of the focus or the way that you're approaching or framing this that's actually kind of acting as a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy currently. So let me just see if there's a helpful way to, like, outside of what we've already talked about, to address them. Anything else? Yeah, the Three of Cups. I think like community, friendship, good times, like introducing a lighter energy to the mix is going to give you insight. Just be aware of like overconsumption or the tendency to maybe be a little bit indulgent with the Three of Cups and the Devil. But also like allow yourself a little bit of grace and space to have a good time too. You know, like, you know where your limits are, stay within them, continue on the path of healing, but also like have some fun, you know, have some fun here. Lighten the mood a little bit. There's a very solitary, isolated energy to this as well. And I feel like if that's something that you've been in for a while, bringing more of a social element will help you balance that out. But yeah, there could be something also with the Three of Cups being the bridge between the Devil and the Ace of Coins in reverse. There could be something about the need for forgiveness. Part of the element that's keeping you perceiving the situation a certain way and therefore manifesting that outcome may be like a certain level of bitterness or resentment, or even just obsession, like over the situation. Whatever that Devil represents, it could be like heavier, more shadowy feelings, again, like anger, resentment, jealousy, comparison to others, pride, whatever that is. Or it could just be like a rumination or too much focus, like an obsession from the wrong place, basically, with the wrong approach on this. But I feel like the Three of Cups, it does represent like a softer energy, a softening of the edges, an allowance for something to have space to breathe and unfold naturally. And understanding that there's space within that for both your virtues and your desires to guide you. But there is something here about community, forgiveness, celebration, and introducing more of a soft, supported, connected kind of energy to the mix that is vital in bridging where you are and where you want to be. But you also have to believe that this is possible and available to you, or else it will not be, okay? So yeah, I feel like that's the messages that I have for you, my loves. Thank you so much for being here, as always. You're my favorites. I hope that you're enjoying this season. And yeah, again, feel free to watch any of the other signs if you feel, not signs, piles, if you feel called to do so. I'm sending you guys so much love though, and I'm gonna leave your reading there for this time. I will talk to you again soon. Bye for now.